Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Davo from Esports, bringing you another 1v1 Starcraft 2 cast today. This time on Ohana LE, which is the ladder edition of the map. And I know that my chair is very creaky. I'm really sorry about that. In the top left-hand corner today, we have our red Zerg, who is known as Scott. Yes! All hail Scott. In the bottom right-hand corner today, we have tamelien. Excellent. Who is our blue Protoss? And of course, Ohana LE, in the grand scheme of things, is a fairly new 1v1 map when it comes to the laddering system in Starcraft 2, and it's one of the more pretty looking 1v1 maps as well. And here we go, we have a pylon going down for tamelien in a pretty strange location. Okay, it does get cancelled. I was going to say that if you're going to be building your first pylon against a Zerg, you will want to build it on top of the ramp or here to make yourself a nice block in with. And it did strike me as a little bit strange, but there we go. It did get cancelled straight away by tamelien, and his army is back on track. And Scott looks like he's going to be heading out to go and do his scouting right now. And I don't know what Scott is actually going to put down first. There is a gas, so I guess we're probably going to see a spawning pool come out before a hatchery for him, as it would make a bit of sense, to be honest. Awesome. Okie dokie. So we do have tamelien scouting right now, just finding out what he can about Scott. Oh, almost mana blocking the spawning pool going down right there. So Scott does have some military potential behind him. Awesome. And tamelien doing a very classical Protoss kind of thing, where he is going, you know what, I'm just going to block in across here and do some defending with photon cannons, inevitably photon cannons. And Scott is obviously going to see this and know exactly what is happening. Just so you know, this is a platinum to diamond level game, so I mean, you know, it's not professional level, but the guys know what they're doing nevertheless. And that is all fun and games. Meanwhile, tamelien is actually blocking in Scott's natural expansion right here, so it does actually look like Scott might have some trouble building a hatchery just there. Unless some Zerglings come out. Basically, that's one thing. And in a funny kind of situation, we do have a Nexus gone down for tamelien before the hatchery has gone down for Scott right there. So, there we are. Metabolic boost going down for Scott, which of course increases the Zergling movement speed and makes them very, very effective against a number of different things. And that is that for the while. Awesome. And we have our gateway on the way for tamelien right now, and because he has in fact got his second Nexus down right now, it does actually look like maybe he'll be able to kind of go into a more casual, easygoing kind of thing where we just gateway, cybernetics core, gateway, and essentially I guess from now on he's going to be getting his gas as well, or anytime soon he'll be getting his gas. Yeah, there we go, the gas is in fact going down. There we go. This probe, is he going to make it across the map? Let's follow this epic battle as it happens. We'll even throw in some GSL camera work and have a look. Will the Zerglings get the probe even? No, they will not, as the cannon tells them to go away in pretty good timing as well, you could say. Yes. Okay, so the cybernetics core has actually gone down right now, and gas collection has started for tamelien just in time, because you know what, the cybernetics core has just gone down, and it's a pretty good time to be getting your gas without a shadow of a doubt. He already has enough gas for the warp gate, so that is no big deal. Scott's expansion is actually going down right now, so he is going to be able to keep up economically, but I am beginning to wonder if we're going to see Scott expand again. It's quite favourable when a Protoss blocks themselves in like this. Zerg players will like to expand again into the third position or something like that, because they do like to just take advantage of how much map control they have. But we have Scott getting a baneling nest out, so it does actually look like he might just be coming up the ramp of tamelien and just trying to do as much damage as possible. I mean, if the banelings get in here and destroy this cannon, you know, that could be big trouble for tamelien. And plus, I mean, zealots aren't exactly the best units versus banelings. They still die pretty quickly, even though they are a bit tougher than the other light biological units in the game. They do still suffer a relatively large amount against banelings. Yeah, they do. So that is one thing that tamelien might want to think about. I mean, I don't actually think that tamelien has managed to scout the baneling nest just yet, which no, he has not. That is something that has not happened, and we have our lair on the way for Scott right now, as well as the +1 weapons as well. So there we go. Warp Gate research looks like it is just finishing up right now. Well, it's a little bit more than halfway through, about 2/3 done. And of course, with tamelien getting his weapons +1, I mean, he's playing very, very standard at the moment against our Zerg player Scott. Lots of Protoss players will like to get their weapons +1 upgrades pretty dang quickly versus Zerg, because it overall increases the effectiveness of Stalkers and Zealots, basically, to a point where they're very, very useful against units that Zerg players will get. One thing that tamelien is doing is getting an Immortal. Now, this isn't such a bad shout, because I know that Zerg players do like to go Roaches a lot, but Scott is not doing this. I mean, Scott hasn't actually even got a Roach Warren. He's going Banelings, and Immortals will suffer greatly against Zerglings, essentially. So, I mean, maybe that minerals and gas that you spent on the Immortal could have been kind of better spent by just getting an observer out and having a look at Scott's base right now. Meanwhile, we have something else that that Immortals aren't that great again, and that's a Spire coming up now for Scott as well. Scott looks like he's planning to expand to the 3rd, not in a time that I thought would be that quick. Oh, I mean, tamelien does have an observer out on the field, but he hasn't scouted Scott's base with it, so he doesn't know there is in fact no Roach Warren running around, well, sitting around anywhere. And there is a Spire on the field coming out right now for Scott as well. So, I mean, tamelien might want to think a little bit about being less... Oh, he might want to get some Stalkers. Let's just say that. I mean, shall we have a look at the army tab? Scott's army is double that of tamelien right now, and I mean, tamelien has just wiped out his back rocks as well, which of course usually helps someone defend. So I mean, tamelien is looking a little bit undergunned at the moment, especially with the composition. I mean, if we have a look at the composition screen, we have, well, Zerglings and Banelings for Scott, and tamelien, I mean, he doesn't really have the correct units to deal with this, I don't think. I mean, Immortals, maybe not. That's all I'm thinking. Fair enough, Immortals may be pretty good against Banelings, you know, they can absorb very, very high hits. But really, I'd go for a nice Zealot Stalker mix. I mean, the Sentries are good as well, actually, because of course they can deflect. Gateway units are optional, but I mean, otherwise, perhaps maybe tamelien should have just gone for something a little bit less expensive, because when there are Banelings running around on the field, pretty much anything can happen. And granted, there are only 8 Banelings on the field right now. Scott getting some Spine Claws up right now, looking like maybe he is perhaps a little bit worried about a potential attack that might be happening. It isn't actually going to be going ahead anytime that soon, but of course we do have the hidden advantage of being observers. So we can see everything that is going on all at once. tamelien is going for the kind of more bohemian strategy of getting Phoenix out from Stargates, which is really, really cool. I really like this, especially from high-level Zerg players. You're beginning to see it much in the mid-level as well, where Protoss will get lots of Phoenix against Zerg. And that is essentially to counter Mutalisks really, really nicely. With that range upgrade from the Fleet Beacon, they become pretty much indispensable. And here we go, we have some Phoenix coming in right now from tamelien, and this does look like it is going to be the first major engagement of the game. And there we go, these Mutalisks do look like they're going to get taken down pretty much straight away. The Phoenix doing fairly large amounts of damage to the Mutalisks right now as well, actually. And it does look like this Overseer has seen its last day, unfortunately for him. Maybe they could use the Graviton Catapult on the Queen, but the Mutalisks do look like they might start outnumbering said Phoenixes pretty quickly. Even then, tamelien's micro is pretty good with the Phoenix right now. I mean, the Phoenix's main advantage versus Mutalisks is their speed, their agility, and their rate of fire, actually. So, yeah, pretty good stuff from tamelien right now. Nice kind of harassment. He knows what his opponent is doing. obviously the Mutalisks for Scott, I mean, all but 2 have perished, unfortunately for him. Scott is getting some Corruptors out, presumably to come and counter the various Protoss air units that we are seeing coming out on the production tab right now, like 2 Void Rays, a Warp Prism as well. It'll be pretty interesting to see where this Warp Prism goes, what the Warp Prism does. Meanwhile, tamelien is pretty much able to expand down here into his third base pretty dang quickly, and that's a pretty fast third base for this kind of game. Not badly timed at all, and very, very comfortable timing at least from tamelien. Excellent. There we go, we do have Scott destroying these destructible rocks just for the time being, and actually it's not a bad idea at all, because of course these rocks would only get in the way later and delay a push. They could split up an army with a force field right here later on, and that can be absolutely deadly. And here we go, we do have some aggression coming out from Scott, looking like he's going to be going straight into the mineral line of tamelien and putting the whole command on right now. And there we go, there's a little crevasse full of probes that are going to get taken out just through trying to run away, but unfortunately they can't run away through the hold position Zerglings. And it does look like these Zerglings are by and large going to get away. Only 4 remaining right there out of the original, I think, about 20. But that's not too bad. Workers killed 8, so that whole thing killed about 8 workers, which isn't too bad. I mean, theoretically speaking, 16 to 8. And of course, workers are ultimately more precious than Zerglings. Zerglings being just about the least precious unit of the game in my eyes. I mean, they pretty much cost half a supply each. And here we are, we do have Banelings on Zimab. Lots and lots and lots of Banelings, which of course can be pretty scary for any army to deal with. Especially one that is as light biological heavy as this one, as tamelien has right now. I mean, Zealots are light biological. They do suffer against things such as Banelings, battle cruisers, stuff like that. They do suffer. Colossi, because again, they're light biological. It's just their unit type. We do have up here Scott looking like he's going to be going for a big old attack at the same time as tamelien is. And what will happen here? Will tamelien have to come back and try and defend his base, or is this going to result in a base race? I don't know. And here we go. Scott coming in right now, not actually capped just yet at all. Tamelien, in fact, has a little bit more supply in the first place. And here we are. We do have Scott just tearing it up right now with the various Zerglings, going absolutely mental in the base of tamelien. Meanwhile, tamelien is going into Scott's base right now with the massive amount of Zealots, of course, with the charge, which makes them more and more deadly. Meanwhile, on the minimap, there is just the biggest swarm of red versus blue going on down here, and it does look like all those Banelings just went into the Nexus right there. Obviously, really damaging the Nexus, and there we go. I think one hit from a Zergling just took out that Nexus pretty damn quickly. And this just looks like it's going to result in a massive base race from our 2 players right here. But I definitely think the Zerg players do more DPS, or at least Zerg units do more DPS. So I think that our Protoss player is going to be pretty stuck right here. Scott even building a Nexus in the hatchery right there as well. And just everything getting completely destroyed by the Zerglings of Scott right there. Meanwhile, in the other base up here, we have still really steady progress with the destruction that is happening of Scott's base. So this is a base race. It is just a matter of going to have to see what happens. And the Void Ray is burning down this hatchery, and that is very important indeed, because they're going to have to make it so the hatchery doesn't stay up. Otherwise, the Protoss race will not be able to win this particular game. There we go, that hatchery does die pretty quickly, and I don't think Scott has any other buildings anywhere else on the map, but that doesn't particularly matter because tamelien has pretty much lost all of his buildings. And there we go, Scott wins the base race with flying colours, proving once and for all that Zerglings do actually quite a lot more DPS in that amount of numbers than said Protoss collection right here. And we actually have an Archon right there with no gas around him, and he looks pretty cool. Yeah, nice one. So there we are. Again, thanks to Scott for giving us the video, or giving us the replay even, so I can comment it and say things. Yay! Thanks to tamelien. I don't know. I don't know who tamelien is. I know who Scott is. I have actually talked to him before, but I don't know who tamelien is. But here we are. there we are. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Have a nice day. Enjoy playing StarCraft, and I will talk to you guys next time. Cheers.